You can absolutely conquer whatever it is you choose to confront. In this show, we talk PTG, we listen and believe, we support and empower. Whether you have experienced domestic violence personally or not, someone you know has. Your circle of family, friends, acquaintances, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will experience domestic violence at some point in their life. Physical abuse is only one of the many forms of domestic violence. Survivors also report experience of verbal, emotional, spiritual, sexual, financial, electronic, and so much more. Domestic violence does not discriminate. It can leave you traumatized and devastated, mentally, emotionally, financially. You can find yourself homeless, jobless, helpless. The list can go on. There's blankets of insecurities, triggers, doubts, and other residual effects that become hurdles that impact our life as we do our best to move on. Many people associate butterflies with a sense of freedom. We've been taught along the way to focus on the transformation that takes place inside of the cocoon. I invite you to take a moment to conceptualize all the odds the caterpillar was up against and needed to defeat in order to get to a safe place, to build its cocoon and actually experience the transformation. My name is A. Garcia. I am a mother and survivor of a double attempted homicide. Now, I'm dedicating my life to take yours to the next level by experiencing post-traumatic growth to begin a new chapter in your life. Let's get started on this journey together. Confronting Domestic Violence is a 501c3. All contributions, volunteers, and sponsorships are welcomed. It takes a community to make a difference. Nobody should suffer alone. Please scan the QR code. Garcia here, and thank you for tuning in to Confronting Domestic Violence. What we cover is not intended to ignite any triggers. For what you want to conquer, you must confront. Today, I have a special guest that's willing to openly share her story and her struggles and her journey through post-traumatic growth from a exposure and experience of domestic violence. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here, Angel.
Thank you for having me, because this is a topic that, again, many people want to gloss over, but is truly needed for people to, especially women, to be able to work through some of the trauma that either they've seen or that they've experienced. So I'm glad to be here.
And we are delighted to have you.
Yeah, I do a lot of discussion with supporting women regarding domestic violence information. One of the things that I think gets missed a lot of times is the domestic violence or the altercations that occur in that youth era of high school, junior high school. And I think a lot of times the reason why it does get missed is because we're looking at them as children, but not recognizing that at the same token, that is the time where they actually start to date. And they have the unfortunate experience of not being fully developed mentally. They're still children. Physically, they're in transition, but meanwhile, they are dating or being intimate. And that is the time when domestic violence starts for many young women.
My goodness, that's so true. And even though they teach us about hormones and the different changes that we go through, the things that are uncontrollable, they don't really hone in on how to be able to identify it and learn how to I can't say control it, tame it, be able to identify what's going on so that you are able to be more, what's the right word? I'm gonna have to edit this too. What'd you say?
Responsive.
Yeah, to be more responsive and to be like in tune. You have to be in tune in order for your thoughts to take control. You have to be in tune with your body and your actions to be like, okay, wait, hold on a second. I'm acknowledging what's happening here and I need to do something different. And same thing for the boys. they go through so much of that hormonal change during that same time as the females. So it's
Mhm.
like we have the perfect storm coming together. And even though they're talking about puberty and they're talking about the changes of the anatomy, they're not talking about the behaviors that, come from that.
Also, the other thing is many times at that age, they don't even understand what violence or domestic violence is. They don't grasp it because it may be something that they have seen all their lives. So when you are looking at children ages 13 to even 21 years old, I know that they say 18, you're an adult, but 18, 19, 20, 21, there's still a lot of growth and there's still a lot of acknowledgement that the mind is doing. And so when you have those periods of time where people are maybe experiencing it, seeing it through family members, we see it on TV all the time, it becomes normal. And so when they do start dating, they don't even recognize it, whether they are sometimes the person who is actually inflicting the violence or the person who is experiencing the violence.
Absolutely. And it's scientifically proven that as teenagers, the brain separates as if it was as toddlers. And it does not come back together until that age of 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, men or males, their brains don't fully develop until they're, I think, between the ages of 23 and 25. And women, I want to say it's like 21 to 23. So they're still in their early 20s before your brain and functioning completely develops. And you now, like you said, the perfect storm, you're looking at chemistry that's happening. You're looking at physical changes that's occurring. You're looking at mental changes that are occurring. And then you're looking at what they're exposed to and the knowledge. So, for instance, let's talk a little bit about dating and something as simple as what people or what young people may think as, oh my goodness, he loves me or he likes me so much. That's why he's calling me 24/7, or that's why she's texting me or angry if I'm talking to somebody else. And many times that leads into things that may be physical, whether it's pinching, pushing, punching, whether it is verbal violence that occurs during that time. And again, the thought from many kids and even up through adulthood, because they were raised that way, is this is normal. This is because they like me. Think about what many people have told little girls for so many times, for so many years. Somebody pulls their pigtails and they go, oh, that's because he likes you. And so that, as women, we become very subversive in the way that we react to certain things because many times we've been told and raised that way. So when you're raised as a young child to think that somebody is pulling your pigtails or pinching you or poking at you is because they like you, when that continues through junior high and high school age, that's exactly what they continue to think. Whether or not it inflicts mental, emotional, or physical pain, they've been taught that means that person likes them. So now we're looking at really just having, I think that schools really should be having the conversation. Many of them are having the conversation regarding safe sex, but they're not having the conversation regarding safe relationships.
That's right. And you hit the nail on the head. So many times that I've had conversations, interviews with different people, nobody has related it all the way back to that really small childhood stage where where we are being taught, oh yeah, that's just because they have a crush on you. And subconsciously, yeah, those are seeds that are planted.
Mhm.
Those are seeds that are planted. And also during the teenage years, if the situation at home or the environment at home is not healthy and you don't want to be there, you're definitely looking to gravitate towards somebody to, at that time, you think you know it all too. So you just want to
Mhm.
go and live your own life with what you think is a partner in life. And it's two kids.
Yeah, and it's not recognizing, right? So again, we're going back to how do women or even young men, because we see that it goes both ways, but how do they recognize the signs of domestic violence and abuse if they don't know what they are? And a lot of times it's really one, having the conversation, writing the articles, doing things like this that young people can see and go, oh my God, so that's not normal that somebody is checking on me every 2 minutes. It's not normal that they're very angry that I'm talking to somebody else. It's not normal when they pinch the back of my arm or grab my hair as I'm walking away because they're upset, right? And if they're experiencing these things, but they're experiencing them under the vibes of, oh, it's because he loves me so much, or she likes me so much, that she's jealous and she doesn't want me doing A, B, and C. But really, those are the beginning of domestic violence. That is how it starts. And one, having the conversations and having the knowledge for young people. Two, having them recognize that it's not normal. Three, giving them the confidence to speak up when they feel that they are in danger or they feel that they're having a relationship like this. Also giving them the confidence to remove themselves from that situation, because that is also the age where when you break up with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and it can cause many other flutters in that high school relationship with friends or with other people around them. And so that is one. And then also, we are still in an age where Me Too came out a few years back, but we're still in an age where women, and especially young women, are not always believed. And so if you have somebody who is in that teen year, early life, and they're having these discussions, or they talk to a friend or maybe a teacher that they trust, and it goes no further than that because they're not believed, that again reiterates what they were taught, which is this is normal, this is part of dating, and that person really likes you, that's why they do that to you. And again, it continues to confirm what we were taught as young girls, and it continues throughout our lives. One of the things, and the reason why I'm so passionate about it, is because my mother was 13 when she got pregnant, 14 when she had me. There was a couple of years gap between her and my father. And my grandmother worked 3 jobs because she was a single mom. So probably was not home more than 4 hours a night to shower, sleep a couple hours, shower, and then get ready to go off to another job. And throughout that relationship, after I was born and my father moved in, there was a lot of physical abuse, a lot of domestic violence that was going on. And at the age of 14 years old, not only being a new mother, but also not maybe the fear of what do you say? How do you say it? How do you leave at 14 years old? And so if we expect, I'm not going to say we as a whole, but many people in society expect that when something occurs, we should speak up. How do these young girls, how do they speak up? Or even young men who are being abused, and how do they gain the confidence to speak up? And that went on for 3 years, where my mother was being physically abused to a point where she would end up in the hospital or almost died. And at the age of 3, she cut my hair like a little boy. She dressed me in a pair of overalls, and we moved out of state. She got a plane ticket. We moved out of state. She knew nobody, and she found 2 jobs. At 3 years old, I can even remember she worked at a bakery and she worked at a McDonald's that was right next door. She knew nobody. So at that time, I don't know how she did it, but at 17 years old, she talked managers into allowing her to work the early morning shift and letting me sit or sleep at the bench right in front of the cash register as she was working. And that's how she was able to keep an eye on me. But that was for her the ability to, one, save her life, but 2, save mine as well, and save us from that continual domestic abuse. But that's a story that, a lot of people don't see and a lot of people don't talk about. So for me, it's very important for us to start talking to these young people, both female and male, about what does it look like? How do you find help? There are a lot of stores. There is a store in the mall. It's called Hot Topic. And I was really surprised. I went in to buy a t-shirt for my daughter and they handed me a card. And on that card, it said, if you are a young person, if you're in need of help for domestic violence, here's a 1-800 number that you can call. So for me, I think that is the very first step. I hope that many more stores begin to do that, especially those that really pinpoint those young people and give them the knowledge that there's somebody out there that might be able to help you.
Absolutely, 100%. And like we were talking backstage, I just recently had an interview with two young ladies that are in 11th grade that developed an app specifically for those teens that are in a violent relationship and they want to get help. And the app is called Safe Space. And it is actually developed to look like a game, so it's not even obvious that you're like calling or seeking out that help. So that's one place. I'm also familiar with onelove.org. That's also a very resourceful spot for teenagers. They even have like surveys. They ask a bunch of questions to see how you answer them honestly, and they show you the power and control wheel to see if you fall into any of those categories. There's a lot of different resources that are out there. And to hit on that a little bit more, I would love to find a way how to mandate domestic violence being a part of the health curriculum at high school, junior, senior year, or even middle school when they are talking about sexual ed and stuff like that, because it carries through from that point forward. And there's so much that happens also on the campus. When you leave high school and you're ready to live on campus and you think you know it all, but you haven't been taught these things. And then I recently had another interview with a college grad, and she was saying the same thing. When you are there, freshman, sophomore year, you're looked at as vulnerable, as naive. So those older seniors and ones that have been in college for some time, you're the one that they go after. So there's so much there to unpack, 100%, and bringing awareness and educating them is so important. And I'm even inclined to explain how some of these things feel as teenager, right? If you feel like you're constantly crying, like you're going somewhere with the intention to have fun, but because of your partner, you're sitting there crying, feeling like crap, feeling ugly, feeling untrustworthy, feeling dirty. Those are signs right there. You should not be thinking that about yourself at all. At all.
Exactly. It goes so deep and it's so important. And it occurs again everywhere across this world. But again, unless there are professionals and people who are bringing it to the attention every year, once or twice a year, I try to volunteer time at the high school I graduated from. And I have previously done female empowerment groups where we do 1 hour. We talk about everything from education to transition of high school to college or high school straight to work. I know we talk about relationships and things like abuse and where you can find resources and where you can find help, which is so extensive. And in my own organization last year, I got sponsors to help pay so that we could do a women's self-defense course. So I actually paid a young woman to come in and teach a physical self-defense course for 2 hours. And we had ages, I think the youngest was 19 and the oldest was in her mid 60s. And they had all experienced some type of violence, whether it was domestic violence or whether it was violence from an outside source. But they had all, and one that was eye-opening, of course, to see the range of ages that occur. And two, they walked away feeling so empowered because 2 hours that taught them simple physical moves, but also taught them how, and taught myself, she taught us how to predict when things are going to occur, how to recognize that the more we practice specific movements, that we are more likely to be able to defend ourselves should something then occur. And there are a lot of, I think, even self-defense courses that are now coming out in gyms, local gyms, where you can go and find that. And if you are a women's group, I highly recommend finding also a local woman, sheriff, a wrestler, somebody who teaches those self-defense courses, and getting a group together, because I think it's something that a lot of women would love to learn, but have a fear of doing alone. And that was one thing that I noticed when we had a group of women together, and we did it at a local park outdoors. We then ended with a beautiful picnic. I sent them away with some pepper spray, not the spray, but the gel, which is also another thing. We talk about pepper spray, but when the wind blows, it just goes over like hairspray. They do have a pepper gel that's straight stream, which is much better, more effective. But we talked about even things like when you put gas, where do you stand between your vehicle and the gas pump? So there's so many different ways that we can, I think, grow our own power, but that first has to come from knowledge, and then it has to come from continual self-empowerment, because unfortunately, the world around us, they don't want to talk to us about it. They want to pretend that these things don't happen. And it's not until after they happen that people go, we should have said, we should have done. Thank you so much for being here to raise this concern and raise this discussion, because there are going to be a lot of people who see this, and especially once the nonprofit gets up and going, I'm really excited to think about how many women we can help safely remove themselves from a domestic violence situation, and give them resources and give them support so that they find their own power, they are confident in their power, and start a new chapter.
Absolutely, 100%. And with that awareness that we can bring and that knowledge you say you need to have, that's where situational awareness surely comes into play. And you're absolutely right. I am so honored and privileged not just to have you on this show, but to also have you sit on the board of Confronting Domestic Violence to help support this mission. And like you said, give, parents and children a second chance. They should not have to leave everything behind for safety. They should be able to move, be safe, and start a new life. Have true transformation. And there is such a thing as post-traumatic growth. We all have trauma at some point in our life. It's inevitable on many different levels. And domestic violence is a very serious ripple effect. There is a serious ripple effect of trauma from any sort of domestic violence, especially because your heart is more than 100% committed, and it takes courage, and it starts with speaking up and speaking out to get that help. So many of us have been there and gone through it, that when we hear those that are going through it and that are asking for help, that is courageous, and there's so much love and support to give. Our hands are extended. Please, Angel, let them know where they can find you.
You can find me on LinkedIn. I have a personal under my name, Angel Guerra-Chagolla, or we have a business under Beauty and Beast in Business. And then there's also a website, Beauty and Beast in Business.
Yes, beautiful platforms.
You can find me on LinkedIn, as well as our website, beautyandbeastinbusiness.com. There's a click away email. You can contact me. And if you have any questions regarding any resources, or you're in need of help, you can actually go to confrontingdomesticviolence.org or confrontingdv.org. And we're happy to reach out to talk to you or provide resources, any assistance that we can give.
That's right. Thank you so much for being here, Angel. It has been a true honor and privilege. Please give our listeners your wounds to wisdom statement.
Wounds to wisdom. There is a lot that we can carry with us throughout our lives. And when we continue to carry our wounds and we don't allow them to heal, they fester. and that affects our lives in a whole. So first, I would say if you have been impacted at any stage of your life in any way by domestic violence, reach out to somebody, a therapist or somebody who can assist you through working through that trauma. And two, if you were not physically inflicted with domestic violence, but have seen and been surrounded by that, I want you to remember that you are not the cause. I want you to remember that the person who actually was inflicting the violence, it is their curse and their cross to bear. It is not yours. We as women or as children that have seen domestic violence or experienced it have the habit of collecting everybody's curses, and we carry those with us.
Confronting Domestic Violence is a 501c3. All contributions, volunteers, and sponsorships are welcomed. It takes a community to make a difference. Nobody should suffer alone. Please scan the QR code.